So whether you're the owner of a Lumix S5 or you're possibly interested in the S5 being your go-to camera, whether it be in 2022 or 2023, one thing I love to talk about when it comes to these cameras is how we can up our video production, but at the same time cutting cost. So in today's video, we're going to be directly talking about the VILTROX EF to L mount. We have their original adapter, and then in my right hand you guys can see the EF to L mount Pro adapter from the guys over at VILTROX. So we'll be goofing around with the Canon Nifty 50 with the Lumix plus the VILTROX, the 70-200 f4, and we'll also be using the old faithful 24-105. We'll be switching the adapters back and forth, giving you guys examples and talking about the overall benefits of a product like this coming up next. I jumped over to the S5, I want to say just about a year ago, and one thing right off the bat that was a huge must was how was I going to be able to take my current Canon glass that I owned then and be able to use it with my full frame S5. And the easiest option and by far the cheapest option was going to be going the adapter route. Now simply put, these adapters from VILTROX basically allow your Canon EF mount glass to be then adapted to your S5. Now a little bit of a disclaimer, I have found with these particular types of adapters, autofocus pretty solid when it comes to photography. Now when it comes to the video end of things, it's really going to be hit or miss depending on the particular piece of glass I use, but as always I find that native glass works the best. Now one thing you guys can kind of see with these particular adapters, they are super small, they're super light, and with the click of a button from the camera back onto the camera, boom, you're ready and you're rocking and rolling. Heavier lenses, I do think the EF Pro is going to be more up your alley. As you guys can see, some of you might be familiar with this, some of you might not, but the locking mechanism is really what kind of separates these two. And in particular, what I mean is we're still gonna do our red dot and our red dot, come here, and then we're going to crank down and turn our little metal bracket here to lock it in. Now I do find as far as between the two and using them, yeah, they lock in place well, but there's just some sense of security when it comes to the Pro being a little bit more of a beefy locking system. Now the downfall of that is I do find that between the two, the original is a little bit quicker in regards to putting a piece of glass on there, but if I were gonna show you with the other, the Pro, we'll go ahead, we'll put this on there. We'll actually take off the 24-105 and I'll show you with the Nifty 50, red to red, and then we lock it down. And what I have found is after doing it a few times, I've gotten a little bit quicker with it. It gets a little bit easier. So for this portion of the video, I wanted to give you guys a little bit of a glance at what the actual final results would look like coming out of the S5. And currently you're seeing the Canon 70-200 f4. We're shooting at ISO 640, 4600 Kelvin, and the actual bitrate we're shooting at is 4K 10-bit 422 24 frames per second. So for the second shot, we're shooting with the Canon Nifty 50 at an f1.8. We're shooting at ISO 100, 4600 Kelvin, and once again that 4K 10-bit 422 at 24 frames per second. So when it comes to the VILTROX, one thing that I wanted to give you guys a little bit of insight on was how would it perform in more of, I guess, an interview style looking shot. Now, currently we're rolling at 24 frames per second, 4K 10-bit 422. I want to say Rec 709 is the profile. White balance is going to be at 5300. We're shooting an f2.8, and we are using the Canon Nifty 50. So the reason I want to go with this is I was looking for some shallow depth of field, and on top of that you guys can see over here kind of behind the scenes of what it's looking like. Now one reason that I kind of pivot to this particular lens for this particular setup is that prime and being able to go below an f4 is a very nice touch, and I think for people that are going to be shooting interviews, this will give you an example of how it would function with the VILTROX adapter, the Canon Nifty 50, and the Lumix S5. I want to talk about IBIS, because one thing that some people are going to be wondering is, do you get IBIS when it comes to using these particular adapters? And the answer to that question is yes. So currently, just to get a little bit of reference, we do have image stabilization on in regard to the Canon 24-105. Now, on top of that, we have kind of, I guess, the body IBIS that Lumix offers. We have that engage, and then we have this thing that's just operation, and it basically is another form of IBIS that we have turned on as well. So we're kind of outside of video IS lock. We have what I would consider quite a bit of IBIS options kind of engaged right now. But we're going fully handheld. Like, I'm literally actually just holding the ends of the lens in regards to walking around and talking. My son behind me, I think, is possibly harassing my other one. And one thing that a lot of people kind of really credit the Lumix for is stabilization. So if we're getting all that with these adapters, it's just going to be an added bonus for why you would want to go with this option. Because sometimes you can end up getting an adapter where it won't electronically allow all that IBIS function to work, and that can be a little bit of a bummer, because that's kind of why we lean towards these cameras. All right. So we've done the test inside, talking to camera. We did what I would consider maybe more of an interview style, where it was a little bit lit over in the studio. We've gone outside, we've shot some B-roll, we've kind of put these adapters in the environments that I think you guys would like to see before actually purchasing them. Now, as I've mentioned kind of throughout the video, really I think it comes down to one, VILTROX has created a great product here. I think it's very useful. The versatility is great. They're super lightweight, and from the most part, I can tell that it's a well-built product. Now, I'll be putting it through the ringer over the next year because I will 100% be using them. But the goal here was to be able to unlock the Canon glass at what I would consider a relatively cheaper rate than going and having to buy all L-mount glass. I just find that L-mount glass, from what I can tell, very expensive, and because I haven't used it, it's just one of those things where I'm very kind of on the fence. Will it actually get me a better result than my current setup? And an L-mount piece of glass could probably start out, let's just say if you get a native piece, like 500 to 600, whereas this adapter, you know, you can buy that and then I unlock all my Canon glass and have multiple pieces of glass rather than having to go all in on an L-mount piece of glass. So that's just where my head's at. These are my thoughts on these two VILTROX adapters. Very handy, very friendly, unlock the glass that you need, and anyone out there that's an S5 shooter, definitely take a look. I'll put some links in the description. Shout out to the guys over at VILTROX for sending me these two adapters. As I've mentioned, I don't think I will need both of these, so here in the near future, I'd love to give away one to one of you guys out there. So drop a comment in the comment section below. Would you use it for your S5? Would it fit into your workflow? And also, I'd love to hear what kind of glass you would put on here. Now, it is EF mount, but hey, it could be Rokinon, it could be Sigma, it could be, I don't know, maybe even Nikon. I don't know if they have EF mount glass. But all that to be said, I want to hear what your thoughts, comments, questions, concerns are. And as always, guys, it's Trey Lowell here with Lowell Productions. And if you like this video, go ahead and hit that like button. If you like the content I keep creating on this channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video.